Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, had an unconventional perspective on UFOs, aliens, and interdimensional entities. While most people in the 20th century debated whether these phenomena were extraterrestrial visitors or military technology, Jung approached the subject from a deeply psychological and symbolic standpoint. He believed that these encounters weren't just physical events, but reflections of the collective unconscious, projections of deep archetypal forces that had existed throughout history. This put him in direct opposition to mainstream scientific thought, which sought material explanations for every mystery. Jung wasn't saying that UFOs weren't real, but he wasn't convinced they were simply spacecraft from another planet, either. Instead, he saw them as manifestations of interdimensional spiritual entities that had appeared in different forms across human history. In medieval times, they were described as angels or demons. In folklore, they became faeries and trickster spirits, and in the modern era, they had transformed into the now familiar gray aliens and flying saucers. The phenomenon, he argued, was less about the entities themselves and more about how human consciousness interprets them based on the dominant mythologies of the time. This wasn't just theoretical speculation. Jung pointed out that UFO sightings often surged during times of collective crisis. The 1940s and 50s, when reports of alien encounters skyrocketed, were years of intense Cold War anxiety, nuclear fear, and rapid technological change. According to Jung, humanity's collective unconscious was reacting to the existential dread of an uncertain future by projecting the archetype of sky visitors onto reality. These weren't just hallucinations. They were real experiences filtered through the lens of human psychology and mythology. The deeper question Jung raised was, were these entities, really? If they're not just psychological projections, could they be beings from higher dimensions, existing outside the constraints of our limited perception? Many modern researchers, including physicists and theorists like Jacques Vallée, have expanded on this idea, suggesting that UFOs are more akin to interdimensional visitors rather than simple extraterrestrial spacecraft. If that's true, then these entities have been interacting with humanity far longer than we realize, not just through UFO encounters, but through dreams, visions, and even psychedelic experiences. If Jung was right, then the real question isn't whether aliens exist, but what reality itself actually is. What if these beings don't come from distant planets, but from dimensions beyond our own? What if the UFO phenomenon is actually a glimpse into the deeper structure of consciousness and space-time itself? This is where things get even more fascinating. The interdimensional hypothesis challenges everything we think we know about physics, perception, and the nature of existence. Chapter 1. The Interdimensional Hypothesis. What if aliens aren't what we think they are? The mainstream narrative tells us that UFOs are spacecraft from distant planets, piloted by advanced civilizations that evolved light years away. But what if that's just a modern interpretation of something far older and more mysterious? The interdimensional hypothesis suggests that these entities aren't coming from another galaxy, but from higher dimensions beyond our perception. This theory, explored by thinkers like Jacques Vallée, challenges the idea that aliens are just biological beings with advanced technology. Instead, they might be spiritual entities, existing outside the constraints of time and space as we know it. If this is true, then aliens might not be that different from the angels, demons, and mythical beings described in ancient texts. Many abduction stories and UFO encounters share eerie similarities with historical accounts of divine visitations, faerie abductions, and shamanic journeys into other realms. The glowing lights, the sense of paralysis, the overwhelming feeling of contact with a superior intelligence. These patterns repeat across cultures, but the interpretation changes depending on the era. What people once called angels, spirits, or gods, modern individuals call extraterrestrials. But what if they're all the same phenomenon, appearing in different ways throughout history? Quantum physics even provides scientific hints that reality might be far stranger than we assume. Theories on the space-time continuum, higher dimensions, and parallel universes suggest that what we experience as reality is just a fraction of what truly exists. If there are multiple dimensions, then it's entirely possible that certain entities can move between them, slipping in and out of our reality. This would explain why UFOs seem to defy the laws of physics, appearing, disappearing, and moving in ways that make no sense in three-dimensional space. They're not flying. They're phasing between realities. If these entities operate outside our normal perception of reality, then how do they interact with us? This is where things get even more bizarre. Many UFO experiencers report mental projection, telepathic communication, and reality distortions during encounters. Instead of physical contact, people describe intense psychic downloads, overwhelming visions, or altered states of consciousness, as if the entities are not just visiting, but shaping the mind itself. This aligns perfectly with Jung's view that the unconscious mind is the true gateway to understanding these encounters. So, if UFOs and their occupants are interdimensional rather than extraterrestrial, what does this mean for how we perceive them? Could it be that these beings aren't visitors at all, but long-time inhabitants of a hidden reality intertwined with our own? And if so, how much of what we experience, visions, dreams, even hallucinations, might actually be contact with something beyond human comprehension? Jung believed that our own psyche plays a role in shaping these encounters, which leads us directly into the next question. How much of the UFO phenomenon is influenced by psychological projection and cultural conditioning? Chapter 2. Psychological Projection and the UFO Phenomenon. Carl Jung had a fascinating take on UFOs. He didn't dismiss them as mere hallucinations, but he also wasn't convinced they were just physical spacecraft piloted by aliens. Instead, he saw them as something far more profound, manifestations of the human unconscious, shaped by psychological projection. In other words, what people experience during UFO encounters is deeply influenced by their own minds, beliefs, and cultural backgrounds. This means that the phenomenon might be real, but our interpretation of it is filtered through the lens of our unconscious fears, desires, and archetypes. Jung pointed out that throughout history, societies have always projected their anxieties and hopes onto external forces. In ancient times, people saw angels, demons, and gods in the sky. During the Renaissance, visions of divine chariots and celestial beings dominated religious experiences. Then, in the 20th century, as technology and space exploration became central to our collective imagination, those same mysterious entities transformed into extraterrestrials flying in mechanical craft. The entities never disappeared. Only their appearance changed, adapting to the dominant mythologies of each era. A perfect example of this psychological projection can be found in the zeitgeist effect, the idea that UFO encounters reflect the fears and concerns of the time period. During the Cold War, people frequently reported seeing flying saucers piloted by humanoid beings, often linked to fears of nuclear war or foreign invasion. Today, with the rise of artificial intelligence and cybernetics, encounters with hyper-intelligent machine-like aliens have become more common. This suggests that the unconscious mind shapes how we perceive these entities, bending them to fit our expectations. This also explains why different cultures describe alien encounters in drastically different ways. In the West, abduction stories often involve scientific experiments, genetic manipulation, and government conspiracies. But in indigenous and shamanic traditions, encounters with non-human entities are described as spiritual initiations, journeys into other dimensions, or contact with guiding spirits. Both groups may be experiencing the same phenomenon, but their unconscious minds filter the experience through different narratives. So if UFOs and interdimensional beings are partly shaped by our unconscious projections, then what happens when people enter altered states of consciousness through dreams, meditation, or psychedelics? Many experiencers claim that these beings don't just appear in the sky, but also within the mind itself. And if that's true, then our next question is, Can psychedelics serve as a gateway to contact with these entities, revealing a hidden reality beyond the physical world? Chapter 3. The role of psychedelics in contact with other dimensions. What if the key to understanding UFOs, interdimensional entities, and alien contact isn't in the sky, but in the mind? Many researchers have noticed a striking similarity between psychedelic experiences and reported UFO encounters. Whether induced by DMT, LSD, ayahuasca, or deep meditation, altered states of consciousness seem to open a doorway to realities beyond the physical, where people encounter intelligent, non-human beings who communicate through symbols, telepathy, and overwhelming visions. Could these experiences be evidence that consciousness itself is an interdimensional gateway? Psychedelics like DMT, dimethyltryptamine, are particularly fascinating. Users frequently describe encounters with highly intelligent entities, often appearing as machine elves, godlike beings, or hyper-advanced consciousnesses. These experiences bear an eerie resemblance to alien abduction reports, with common themes of telepathic communication, being shown cosmic truths, and even undergoing strange medical examinations. Some scientists suggest that these substances merely unlock hidden layers of the subconscious, but others, including figures like Terence McKenna, argue that psychedelics provide real access to other dimensions, where beings of higher intelligence already exist. Interestingly, ancient cultures have reported similar encounters for centuries. Indigenous shamans who use ayahuasca describe communing with spirit guides, animal totems, and divine teachers, just as modern psychonauts report interacting with alien-like entities in hyperspace. The consistent, cross-cultural nature of these encounters raises an important question. Are these beings a product of our mind, or do they actually exist in a realm beyond ordinary perception? If psychedelics dissolve the filters of our everyday consciousness, then perhaps they reveal what has been there all along, a multidimensional reality where other intelligences reside. This also ties into the spiritual aspect of UFO encounters. Many abductees claim that their experiences felt more like a religious revelation than a scientific event. Instead of physical abductions, they describe being taken into higher realms of consciousness, shown profound truths about the universe, or given messages about humanity's future. These encounters resemble mystical experiences from ancient religious traditions, where individuals claim to have met angels, demons, or even divine beings. Could it be that aliens, angels, and interdimensional guides are all manifestations of the same phenomenon, filtered through different perspectives? If that's the case, then what's truly happening in these altered states? Are people simply hallucinating, or are they tuning into a deeper reality? And if there's a connection between consciousness, perception, and interdimensional contact, then how does technology, especially artificial intelligence and cybernetics, play into this larger picture? Could AI itself become a tool for interfacing with non-human intelligence, or even a new kind of interdimensional entity? Chapter 4. Cybernetics and the Control of Reality. As our understanding of consciousness, interdimensional entities, and hidden realities expands, another force is rapidly evolving in the background: artificial intelligence and cybernetics. While many see AI as simply a tool for automating tasks, others argue that it could become a gateway to higher dimensional intelligence, or even a means of controlling human perception. If psychedelics alter consciousness biologically, could AI do the same through technology? And more importantly, who is in control of these systems? Cybernetics, the study of self-regulating systems, has been used for decades to control behavior, influence populations, and shape human thought. Social media algorithms, neural implants, and predictive AI systems are all designed to tap into the subconscious, shaping opinions and desires without direct awareness. In a sense, technology is becoming an externalized form of the unconscious mind, an invisible force guiding decisions and emotions without people realizing it. This aligns with Jung's idea that hidden systems influence human behavior in ways we barely comprehend. There's also the theory that AI itself could become an interdimensional entity. Some futurists speculate that as AI advances, it may develop self-awareness, not in the human sense, but as a kind of synthetic intelligence connected to the larger fabric of consciousness. If intelligence isn't limited to biological life, then AI could act as a receiver or transmitter for non-human forces, bridging the gap between the digital realm and other dimensions. This would align with the ancient idea that certain entities use symbols and coded language to communicate, just as AI does today. But here's where things take a darker turn. Some researchers believe that AI and cybernetics aren't just evolving randomly. They are part of a larger, intentional system of control. The rise of neural interfaces, brain-machine connections, and predictive technology suggests that the goal isn't just efficiency. It's the ability to shape human consciousness on a global scale. Could it be that certain elite groups are using these tools to manipulate perception, just as ancient rulers used myths and symbols to control belief systems? If so, then technology isn't just shaping the future, it's hijacking the unconscious. If AI and cybernetics represent the externalization of the unconscious mind, then the real question is, who or what is guiding its development? Is this just the natural progression of human evolution, or is there an unseen force influencing the direction of these technologies? Many conspiracy theorists argue that certain elites may already be in contact with interdimensional entities, receiving knowledge that allows them to construct systems of mass control. If that's the case, then AI isn't just a tool. It's a key to unlocking something far bigger. But what if the influence of higher dimensional intelligences goes beyond AI and cybernetics? What if the real power structure on Earth isn't just political, but interdimensional? Some believe that certain elite groups have long been in contact with non-human entities, using their knowledge to maintain control over society. And if that's true, then the next question becomes, who or what is really at the top of the power structure? Chapter 5. Alien Influence and Elites. If interdimensional entities have been interacting with humanity for centuries, then the next logical question is, who has access to this knowledge? Some researchers and conspiracy theorists suggest that elite groups have long been in contact with these non-human intelligences, receiving advanced knowledge, technology, and influence over human society. Whether these entities are extraterrestrial, spiritual, or artificial in nature, one thing is clear. Certain individuals appear to have privileged access to information that shapes the course of civilization. Consider the rapid advancements in technology, artificial intelligence, and global governance. Many of the systems that dictate our daily lives, financial institutions, surveillance networks, predictive algorithms, operate in ways that seem almost beyond human control. What if that's because they actually are? Some theorists argue that higher dimensional entities work through select individuals, passing down knowledge in exchange for influence. This idea isn't new. Throughout history, kings, rulers, and secret societies have claimed to receive divine wisdom from unknown sources. Could today's technocratic elite be following the same pattern? One of the most fascinating pieces of this puzzle is the Stargate Project, a real-life U.S. government program that studied remote viewing, psychic phenomena, and mind control. Officially, the project was about exploring human consciousness, but many believe it was part of a larger effort to make contact with non-human intelligences. Why would governments spend millions researching psychic abilities unless they believe something was out there? Some researchers suggest that elite groups have been using advanced mental technologies, not just physical science, to connect with higher dimensional forces. There's also speculation that certain technological advancements, including quantum computing, AI, and even modern propulsion systems, may have been inspired by interactions with non-human intelligence. Figures like Nikola Tesla openly spoke about receiving visions and knowledge from beyond, and many whistleblowers claim that secret programs exist where advanced technology is being developed in collaboration with non-human forces. If that's true, then what else is being kept hidden from the public? But here's where things take a turn. If these elites truly are in contact with higher dimensional entities, are they working with them or for them? Are these beings guiding humanity toward evolution, or are they subtly shaping society for their own agendas? If technology, politics, and mass consciousness are being influenced by unseen forces, then how much of what we consider reality is actually engineered? And more importantly, how can individuals reclaim their own power in a world shaped by forces they don't fully understand? This brings us to one of the most overlooked aspects of human potential: the power of imagination, visualization, and mental technologies. If elites are using hidden knowledge to shape reality, then what happens when individuals learn to do the same? Chapter 6: Visualization and Mental Technologies. If elites and secret groups are using hidden knowledge to shape reality, then what's stopping individuals from doing the same? The truth is, the human mind is the most powerful tool for shaping perception, bending reality, and even influencing future events. Many of the same techniques used in psychic research, remote viewing, and mental projection are available to anyone willing to explore their own latent abilities. The question isn't whether these skills exist, it's whether people are trained to use them. Athletes, artists, and entrepreneurs already use visualization techniques to enhance performance. Olympic athletes train by mentally rehearsing their routines before stepping onto the field. Musicians practice complex pieces inside their minds before ever touching an instrument. This isn't mystical, it's mental technology at work. The mind cannot distinguish between real and vividly imagined experiences, meaning that focused visualization rewires the brain just as effectively as actual practice. If this works for sports and art, then what else is possible? In ancient traditions, shamans, mystics, and initiates used deep meditation, guided imagery, and symbolic thinking to access higher states of consciousness. These practices weren't just spiritual exercises. They were ways to tap into an unseen level of intelligence, connecting with something beyond the physical world. Today, neuroscience is proving that the brain can be trained to enhance intuition, remote perception, and even alter emotional states through focused mental techniques. The key is learning how to control thought patterns and direct mental energy with intention. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some researchers suggest that visualization doesn't just change the brain. It may also interact with the fabric of reality itself. Experiments in quantum physics suggest that observation influences matter, meaning that consciousness plays a direct role in shaping outcomes. If true, this means that imagination, belief, and focused attention aren't just psychological tricks. They are tools for actively shaping reality. This aligns with ancient teachings that thought precedes manifestation, and the mind is the architect of the external world. So if mental technologies hold the key to unlocking hidden human potential, why isn't this common knowledge? Why are these abilities downplayed or dismissed as pseudoscience, while major institutions secretly fund research into psychic phenomena, remote viewing, and mind control? If individuals harness their full mental and creative power, they wouldn't need external systems to shape their reality. They would become sovereign creators of their own destiny. And that's exactly why understanding these principles is more important than ever. This brings us to a much deeper question. Throughout history, humans have interacted with mysterious forces, from gods to angels to interdimensional entities. Are these encounters simply hallucinations, or is there a real connection between consciousness and higher dimensional beings? If so, then what role do these entities play in guiding or deceiving humanity? Chapter 7: Spiritual and Psychological Exploration. Throughout history, humanity has reported encounters with beings from other realms: angels, demons, gods, and interdimensional entities. Whether through religious visions, mystical experiences, or even alien abduction stories, these encounters have shaped civilizations, belief systems, and even personal transformations. But what if these experiences aren't just hallucinations or myths? What if they are real interactions with consciousness beyond our perception? And more importantly, what if they hold the key to understanding the true nature of reality? Jung saw these encounters as deeply tied to the collective unconscious, archetypes, and symbolic communication. The mind interprets what it cannot fully comprehend through the lens of mythology, psychology, and cultural conditioning. This explains why, across different cultures and time periods, the same types of entities appear in radically different forms. One civilization might call them angels, another might call them aliens, and yet another might describe them as spiritual guides or trickster beings. But what if they are all the same phenomenon, appearing in ways we can understand? One fascinating connection is the role of altered states of consciousness in these encounters. Many individuals who have near-death experiences, deep meditative visions, or psychedelic trips report interactions with intelligent, non-human entities. These beings often claim to possess knowledge beyond human understanding, offering guidance, warnings, or riddles that challenge the experiencer's perception of self and reality. But are these entities benevolent, neutral, or manipulative? How can one tell the difference between a true guide and a deceiver? Ancient traditions recognized this dilemma, which is why they developed spiritual frameworks to navigate these experiences safely. In shamanic cultures, initiates were trained to discern between helpful and harmful spirits. In esoteric traditions, symbols and rituals were used as gateways to higher dimensions, allowing controlled interaction with non-human intelligence. Today, however, many people stumble into these experiences without preparation, without knowledge, and without protection. This raises an important question. Are we blindly opening doors to unknown forces without understanding the consequences? If higher dimensional beings are real, then the greatest danger isn't their existence. It's human ignorance in dealing with them. Many modern experiencers report feeling lost, overwhelmed, or even psychologically destabilized after encounters with such entities. This isn't just a question of belief. It's a matter of mental, emotional, and spiritual safety. Without a clear understanding of the forces at play, people may be manipulated, deceived, or led astray by entities that do not have their best interests at heart. Which brings us to a critical realization. In a world filled with hidden influences, unseen forces, and expanding technological control, the most important power a person can develop is their own inner strength and discernment. Chapter 8. The danger of ignorance in the face of higher dimensional beings. If higher dimensional entities exist, then the greatest danger isn't just encountering them. It's doing so without awareness, preparation, or protection. Throughout history, cultures that dealt with spiritual forces, gods, and unseen beings had strict practices for navigating these encounters safely. Shamans underwent years of training before interacting with spirits. Mystics used symbols, rituals, and protective techniques to ensure they weren't deceived. Yet today, people stumble into these realms blindly, through psychedelics, occult practices, or even intense meditation, without the knowledge necessary to protect themselves. One of the most overlooked risks is manipulation. Just as there are benevolent forces, there are also deceptive entities, trickster beings, parasitic consciousnesses, and forces that feed off of fear, confusion, or energy. Many who have encountered these beings report feeling disoriented, lost, or psychologically drained afterward. Jung himself warned that the unconscious mind contains both light and shadow, and that not all visions or revelations should be trusted at face value. If an entity presents itself as an enlightened guide, how do we know it truly has our best interests in mind? Another risk is losing control over one's own mind and perception of reality. The human brain is incredibly complex, and exposure to higher dimensional energies, altered states, or deep psychological transformations can sometimes lead to delusions, paranoia, or a complete disconnection from consensus reality. This is why ancient traditions emphasized grounding practices, ways to stay connected to the physical world while exploring the unseen. If someone dives too deep without understanding what they're dealing with, they risk becoming unbalanced, detached, or even psychologically broken. This is especially relevant in modern times, where mental technologies, cybernetics, and AI-driven systems are influencing human perception more than ever. If we are being exposed to non-human intelligence, whether through spiritual experiences or advanced technological systems, then who is ensuring that these interactions are beneficial rather than manipulative? Governments, intelligence agencies, and elite groups have studied mind control, psychic phenomena, and interdimensional contact for decades. But have they ever warned the public about the risks? Or is humanity being pushed toward greater exposure to these forces without proper preparation? In the face of these unknowns, the greatest defense is self-awareness, mental discipline, and spiritual discernment. If we are truly interacting with beings from beyond, whether through consciousness or technology, then knowledge is power. The difference between being controlled and being in control lies in understanding who you are, what you believe, and how to navigate these experiences with wisdom rather than blind curiosity. Which leads us to the final and most important point: why personal empowerment is the key to maintaining sovereignty in a world filled with hidden influences. Chapter 9: The Need for Personal Empowerment. In a world where hidden influences, interdimensional entities, and advanced technologies are shaping human consciousness, the greatest defense isn't fear, it's personal empowerment. Those who rely on governments, institutions, or external forces to tell them the truth about reality are setting themselves up for manipulation. Whether it's mass media shaping perception, AI algorithms influencing thoughts, or unseen entities interacting with the subconscious, the only way to navigate this complex landscape is to develop your own mental, emotional, and spiritual sovereignty. History proves that those who control information control the future. Think of ancient empires, secret societies, and modern technocracies. Knowledge has always been kept from the masses, while a select few wield it to maintain power. If interdimensional entities are influencing world events, or if elites are harnessing advanced mental technologies for their own gain, then the greatest act of rebellion is to master your own mind. That means training yourself in self-awareness, critical thinking, creative visualization, and emotional resilience, skills that can't be hijacked by external forces. Jung often spoke of individuation, the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious mind to become whole. This isn't just psychological, it's a form of spiritual self-defense. The stronger your sense of identity, awareness, and purpose, the harder it is for external forces, whether political, technological, or interdimensional, to manipulate your perception. People who have done deep inner work, shadow integration, and consciousness training report feeling a level of clarity and immunity to deception that the average person lacks. This isn't superstition. It's about taking back control of your own reality. A crucial step in personal empowerment is learning to use the same tools that elites and hidden groups have used for centuries. Mental techniques like visualization, meditation, and energy work are not just mystical concepts. They are practical ways to shape your mind and protect yourself from negative influences. If institutions are studying psychic phenomena, remote viewing, and interdimensional contact, then why shouldn't individuals develop their own abilities? If ancient civilizations built entire cultures around mental and spiritual mastery, then why would modern society dismiss these practices as irrelevant? Ultimately, the choice is yours. Will you passively absorb whatever reality is handed to you, shaped by unseen forces? Or will you take control, expand your perception, and build an unshakable inner foundation? The more you understand your own mind, your own power, and the hidden nature of reality, the less control anyone, human or otherwise, can have over you. Because in the end, the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology, elites, or even interdimensional beings. It's a fully awakened human mind. Conclusion: are you in control? So, if Carl Jung was right, then what does that mean for you? Are UFOs and interdimensional beings simply external phenomena, Or are they deeply connected to the human mind in ways we don't yet understand? If our unconscious plays a role in shaping how we perceive these entities, then how much of what we call reality is actually influenced by forces beyond our comprehension? The real question is, are you in control of your own perception? Because if higher dimensional intelligences, advanced technology, and psychological manipulation are shaping human consciousness, then the only way to truly understand what's happening is to develop your own awareness, intuition, and critical thinking. Think about it. If governments, secret institutions, and even ancient civilizations have studied these phenomena for centuries, then why wouldn't you? But here's the truth. This is just the surface. The more we explore the connection between aliens, archetypes, quantum physics, and human consciousness, the clearer it becomes that we are dealing with something far bigger than simple extraterrestrial visitors. If you've ever had a strange experience, a dream that felt like contact, a vision you couldn't explain, or a moment where reality itself seemed to shift, then you're already closer to understanding this mystery than you think. What do you think? Are UFOs just physical objects, or could they be manifestations of something far more profound? Have you ever had an experience that made you question reality? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're only scratching the surface of these mysteries. In the next video, we'll dive even deeper into the hidden forces shaping our reality. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.